Today we will talk about one of the most important presidents in the history. Today we talk about of Xi Jinping, the current president of the People's Republic of China. Please let me introduce you to our teams. On the one hand, the team in favor, and the other hand, the team against. Guys, you know the rules, you know the game, so let's proceed with the first question. Question number 1. In China's rise under Xi, a result of visionary leadership or simply strict control and fear-based governance? You have 1 minute to prepare your answers. All right, we can continue with the answer of your question. Group in favor, you have the word. All right, Roger, please.
Yes, sorry. China's rise began with Xi Jinping. It was built on reforms launched by Deng Xiaoping and continued by Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao, who opened markets and integrated China globally. Xi inherited that momentum, but rather than deepening reform, his focus on tightening state control. No, not just over politics, but over the economy and society. Under Xi, we've seen a crackdown on private enterprise, mass surveillance, censorship, and the suppression of dissent. From Hong Kong to Xinjiang, tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent have been reined in, harming innovation and investor trust. This isn't visionary leadership. It's fear-based governance. A too visionary inspires openness and resilience. She governs through control, not consent. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Roger. We can continue with Álvaro, please.
China's rise under Xi Jinping is a result of a visionary leadership, coupled with decisive governance, not merely control. His strategic initiatives like poverty eradications and the Belt of and Road Initiative, alongside a focus of innovation and global engagement, demonstrate a clear long-term vision. While discipline and law enforcement are factors, they are secondary to the overall strategic definition and direction of Xi Jinping.
Sebastián, you have the word. Sebastián Suárez.
Okay, thank you. Complementing to what Roger was saying, although China has raised his GDP from 70,020 in 2013 to 12,614 in 2023, according to the World Bank, it only reflects that it's a policy it's related to making China 2025. However, this growth coincides with trigger control and also evidence with the press freedom rank dropping from 123rd position in 2013 to 178 in the 2024 rank. If we can please show the resource number 2, resume of how China managed the reporters and also the freedom expression for the press. And well, the press is one of the country, is one of the worst in the world. And the report notes that 75% of the country faces problematic conditions for press freedom, also driven by political authoritarian, disinformation, and economic pressure in media. So how can we trust all the index and all the data that China's published if it's controlled by only few centers in the media? So it's really worrying that a country can manage that way the press and also the information. And complementing to what Roger was saying about Xinjiang on human rights abuses, over 1 million of Uyghurs, that it's a Muslims ethnic group in that region, over 1 million was detained over the last year and was also facing a violation to human rights, and that's a shame.
Carla, you have the word.
Okay, I against his opinion, but first I will answer the question. That I think that China's rise under Xi Jinping is attributed to his visionary leadership. He has strategic initiatives to improve China, and he has been promoting the Chinese dream. He instilled a sense of national pride and unity among citizens. This is why I think that his opinion is not valid for our team.
Sebastian, you have the word.
Well, I have a question. How can you define a visionary leadership by authoritarianism, cultural suppression, or non-expression freedom?
Roger, you have the word.
Thanks. She has centralized power like no leader since Mao. We all know Mao. Removing terms, limits, and dissent that may create short-term stability, but also silences new ideas and makes the system overly dependent on one man. Economically, we know China has been doing great, but his model leans heavily on state intervention, no private innovation. The giant has been punished, growth is slowing, and investor confidence is shrinking. Control might maintain order, but it does not build long-term strength. Fear can enforce obedience, but it cannot sustain progress. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Roger.
Well, please, can we share the resource number 3, please? This is an article of Human Rights Watch, an annual report of 2024, where it's included that the human rights abuses that China has made in the last year, and this include harsh prison sentences for advocates with reports of torture, and mass DNA collection for surveillance. This is get from the Radio Free Asia, and it's all in that report. Also, there are protests like the 2018 uprising and have been met with the crackdown, and also Chi's governance has further centralized control with the Tibet problem, for example, with Tibetans facing economic marginalization despite China border growth. And this is a human rights violation.
Gabriel, please.
Okay, thank you. I want to add something for the against team. China's right on leadership cannot be considered visionary leadership. Because while economic growth has been significant, it has come at the cost of repressing opposition and controlling information. For example, China ranks 177 in the 2021 press freedom.
Let's continue with the question number 2, please. How has she demonstrated leadership in handling international conflicts, like the US-China trade war or tension with Taiwan? You have 1 minute to prepare your answers, guys.
Thank you. Okay, so Xi Jinping has not shown good leadership in these conflicts. During the US-China trade war, he did not try to reduce tension. Instead, he made things worse by being very controlling and nationalistic. With Taiwan, he has been very aggressive. He keeps threatening Taiwan and shows military force, which creates fear and danger in the region. A good leader should look for peace and talk to solve problems, not use threats.
Right, thank you, Sebastian. You have the word.
Okay, I think to complement what my teammate said, as far as the US-China trade war goes, I think that Xi's response to the US trade war was marked by defiance and not diplomacy. Instead of seeking compromise early, he dug in with retaliatory tariffs and nationalist rhetoric, pushing China into a prolonged standoff that damaged both economies, not only the US but also China's. It hurt the consumers' confidence and caused companies to relocate supply chains out of China. And it proved that Xi's leadership style values ideological pride over programmatic economic cooperation. And as far as the tensions with Taiwan, I think that rather than pursuing peaceful dialogue with Taiwan, Xi has escalated military threats and aggressive rhetoric, including regular military drills and airspace incursions, stoking fear of potential invasion. The harsh warnings against international support for Taiwan, bullying countries into submission rather than engaging diplomatically, and rejecting Taiwan's autonomy and silencing any internal Chinese discussions of compromise. And I think this approach has alienated global allies, heightened regional insecurity, and pushed Taiwan further from reunification. The opposite of what was supposed to be the goal.
I'm going to answer your question. In trade war with the United States, his action made things worse for workers and companies. With Taiwan, he used trades and military power, which makes the situation more dangerous. A good leader should try to solve problems with pay, not with force.
All right, thank you, Ale. All right, thank you, Gabriela. Isis, you have the word.
Okay, in handling international conflict, Xi Jinping has displayed a more confrontational than conciliatory leadership during the trade war with the USA. Xi responded with relationary measures rather than seeking sustainable diplomatic solutions. In the case of Taiwan, Xi's stance has been ready and training, increasing in this case of Taiwan, his stance just been training, increasing militarization and international pressure, rather than promoting dialogue.
All right, thank you, Isis. Sebastián, Tavares, you have the word.
Well, I don't agree with what Alan said first. That China is implementing a good economic strategy because, for example, just China avoiding major concessions despite tariffs and also just supporting by this huge GDP doesn't mean that it's a good strategy for the economy, and we can see that in resource number 4. Yeah, 4, please. That it's a recent BBC report where basically it resumes that people are starting to not have confidence on Xi's economic strategy. Like, for example, only 38.8% of Chinese people, citizens, feel that their family's economic situation improved in 2024. And it is a great downgrade from 26.5% in that this rating was shown in 2014. Also, there is a pessimism rising from 2.3% to 16%. Key challenges include a real estate crisis, for example, in Evergrande's 2023 bankrupt, that left 300 billion in facilities, and also a lot of apartments to house 1.4 billion people. That just reflects the speculative overbuilding during the rapid urbanization of China and a bad economic strategy.
Right, thank you, Sebastián. Can someone who restricts press freedom and control information truly be considered a legitimate leader? You have 1 minute to prepare your answers. Sebastián, you have the word.
Okay, so I think to answer the question, no. A leader who restricts press freedom and controls information cannot be considered truly legitimate. Legitimacy in leadership is not just about holding power, it's about how the power is earned and exercised. A leader who restricts press freedom and tightly controls information, like Xi Jinping, fundamentally undermines the core principles of transparency, accountability, and public trust that are essential for true legitimacy.
Thank you, Sebastián. Carla?
I think that an authoritarian approach can be argued, but it also facilitates economic growth by providing stability and decisiveness in governance. By restricting press freedom and controlling information, a leader like Xi Jinping can implement some policies swiftly without the delays often caused by public debates or dissent. And the ability to maintain orders allows for long-term planning and effective execution of economic initiatives, which can attract foreign investment and foster a conducive environment for business development.
Thank you, Leandro. Sebastián, you have the word.
Well, I refute Leandro's resource because it's a survey made in 2021, but instead the BBC report in the 2025 just showed that 60% of the people don't believe that they are they can no longer trust in their government, and also that they are no longer with the satisfaction they used to have, and they are no longer happy with their life they're having. And also, just in this year, more than 113 journalists were arrested just to say their opinion or just to go against what the government just think. So it's a clear demonstration of suppression of freedom expression of for journalists, and well, that's not a legitimate leader.
Please, Natalia, in Zoom.
Okay, so effective leaders earn trust through transparency, accountability, and openness. Xi Jinping leadership contradicts all these three because under his rule, the Chinese government tightly controls the media, censors online platforms, and punishes dissent, preventing their citizens from accessing unbiased information and making informed decisions. When a leader fears the truth, what they actually fear is accountability. And a leader who avoids accountability doesn't deserve the truth. And a true leadership doesn't rely on silence or control. It relies on truth, which only transparency can build.
Leandro.
Right, answering to this question and to the opposite team, I'm on the team of favor. So I think that while restrictions on press freedom are concerning from a liberal democratic perspective, leader, for many citizens, I think legitimacy is based on the leader's ability to maintain stability and foster economic growth, and mainly improve the quality of life. And in place, can we see the resource number 11? Chinese population satisfaction. Yeah. This is a survey that was made by 2016, which mainly were made to more than 30,000 Chinese people by population, and this also was made by the Harvard University, by an American institution, so it can be said that it's like by press or something like that. In this news basically says that almost 96% of Chinese population feel very satisfied with his government, with his actions, with his things. As restrictions they consider as keeping the population sure, keeping the life better, and we can see because we can see this is true because by the time this was made, the IDH of China was something like about 0.734, but right now in 2025, it's stimulated to be by 0.788, which is like something a high human development. I think that Chinese population is very satisfied with his government, and we cannot just close it to like they are being restricted because they are developing themselves, and the population is good with that.
Well, I have to say just that China is part of the UN human rights firms. So one of those human rights is the freedom of expression, and that's what China is not doing right now. So they are going against what they first signed. So it's like kind of contradictory that this team is just saying, well, it doesn't have any elements to support it. And also, even if it's a right form of authoritarianism, it still suppress information aids and it causes a lacking transparency and fundamentally undermines the quality of a good leader. A good leadership is typically characterized by accountability, trust, and the ability to foster informed participation, which in this case, it doesn't happen.
All right, thank you, Sebastián. Gabriela?
Okay.
So it's important to understand why this is done in China and why many people think that these restrictions can be positive. So one of it is it keeps society stable. We have to take into consideration that China is a huge country with over 1.4 billion people. And the government believes that if people share too much negative or false information, it could cause confusion, panic, or protests. Just talking about COVID-19, controlling information helped China quickly share accurate updates and avoid panic. While there were early challenges, China's systems allowed it to mobilize resources fast and protect millions of lives. So we have to take into consideration that we're talking about a huge country, and things like panic or misinformation can affect more the situation. Let's just talk about what happened these last years in Bolivia. Just because some people were like uploading photos or showing how there were many conflicts in their neighborhoods, or how many people were making lines to buy, for example, eggs. It made a lot of panic, and this caused not just panic and people to be worried, but also prices to rise. So imagine this in China. So they are, for example, freedom means different things in different cultures. We're not talking about a Western culture, we're talking about China. And China balances individual rights with the collective good, which has helped it achieve rapid growth and social harmony.
I wanted to compliment with Leandro, and China creates a lot of millionaires. And these millionaires are not only influential in their industries, but they also influence in strengthening their global position as key players in China's strategy. Their success helps to counterbalance external pressures and reinforces national pride. And the rise of millionaires has contributed to job creation and economic opportunities for lower income populations. And that's why I agree with the resource that Leandro's showed, and I think it is valid.
All right, thank you, Carla. Adam, please.
Yes, furthermore, the Chinese government encourages official communication channels, state media, and community engagements to keep citizens informed. While critics may not agree with these methods, the government priority is to ensure that information strengthens national goals, not divides the society. Xi Jinping leadership sees communication control as a tool for a long-term social harmony, economic progress, and national security, not a personal censorship.
Leandro in Zoom, please.
Right, answering what Sebastian told me, like, the report, the news that I showed was published by this portal in 2021, but the survey was done in 2016. That's the only thing I wanted to say. And also, answering also this question, I think that we can hear an opinion from a Chinese person. In fact, can we see the results number 13? It's a quick video made by a content creator from China. And I think that this can clear a lot of the questions that we might have. You can see the first sequence.
Buena pregunta. Pienso que libertad es un concepto cultural y a veces político. Para nosotros, libertad es seguridad y oportunidades reales. Caminar de noche sin miedo, tener educación gratuita, hospitales accesibles y transporte público que sí funciona. Es verdad, hay muchas cámaras públicas, las cuales son visibles y reguladas por ley. Ayudan a atrapar delincuentes, no aspiran a ciudadanos honestos. De hecho, ¿sabes que tu propio celular rastrea todo? La diferencia es que China lo hace transparentemente para proteger a su gente. Sobre religiones, internet, ya lo expliqué en videos anteriores. La libertad tiene límites razonables y el resultado principal es la estabilidad. Ningún sistema es perfecto, pero ¿de qué sirve decir lo que quieras en redes y hacer memes de tu presidente si tu vida real es un juego de supervivencia? Parece que son prioridades distintas. ¿Ustedes cómo definirían libertad real?
Alright, so we can see this video, which is he's a content creator, and as she said, liberty is like a cultural like a cultural concept that many cultures can have their own concept of liberty. And as she's saying, I think, and I agree with the idea that Xi Jinping can be considered a great leader or a legitimate leader, because in these times, for example, in March 2025, with this arancel's war that USA started, China improved his exportations in more than 12%. And I think that this is what a great leader does, making their people happy and making their country progress.
All right, thank you, Leandro. The last answer, Alan, please.
Yes, talking about the freedom of expression, well, yes, it is recognized as a universal human right. But its implementation varies based on each country's right to apply policies that fit its national content. What works for small countries cannot be copied and pasted into a society of 1.4 billion people. Xi Jinping leadership argues that responsible expression is more appropriate for maintaining national unity, social order, and collective welfare.
All right, thank you, guys. Let's continue with the question number 4, please. Progress at the cost of individual human rights, and it's that justifiable. You have 1 minute. Carla, please.
We were talking about it, so I have a question for them. How can the concerns about human rights violations under Xi Jinping's leadership be addressed while ensuring good security and social stability, especially when many believe that a strong centralized authority is necessary to maintain order? And I ask them because the last resource of the last question of Leandro.
Yeah, I want to answer that question.
Yeah, of course, you can.
Well, so Xi Jinping's leadership prioritizes national progress at the cost of individual human rights, and it's not justifiable. Under Xi Jinping, China has indeed made strides in infrastructure, poverty reduction, and technological advancement. But these achievements have come at a staggering human cost, as individual freedoms, civil liberties, and basic human rights have been systematically sacrificed in the name of the national progress. This trade-off is neither ethical nor sustainable, and it exposes the flaws in Xi's authoritarian model. Maybe, and as part of a response to her question, I can also add that human rights are not optional for progress. True progress is not just about GDP or skyscrapers or bullet trains. It's also about improving the quality of life for all people. And under Xi Jinping's, the freedom of speech, religion, and the press have been crushed. Millions of other ethnic minorities have faced mass surveillance, detention, and re-education. Activists, feminists, and lawyers have been jailed for simply demanding dignity and justice. So when a country advances economically but tramples its people's rights, it builds a house of cards and not a stable society.
Well, I agree with my classmate, and also answering Carla. Well, although there is security, and also there was a great advance in poverty. For example, Xi's government just lifted 800 million out of poverty. That's a great advance, but at what cost? I mean, China is one of the most racist countries in the world. Just in the last year, they made more arrests than any other country. Just 1 million to one ethnic group, and many others to the minority. So they're just making progress for the Chinese people, but what about the minority and the people that want to progress in China?
Right, good. Thank you, Sebastian. Adair, please.
I think she prioritizes national progress over human rights. The government's action there show the value control and economic laws over the basic rights of Uyghur people. It's a town. It's not justifiable because you can't build a strong nation by crushing people's freedom and dignity.
Well, I don't agree with what Gabriela said. I mean, just using an abstract example to just not taking into account the minority and the social rights that also that minority has. really, really sad. I mean, you can just ignore that a Muslim group of 1 million people that just don't believe what you believed was just arrested for that. I mean, they were not harming your economy, they were not harming the type of government you have, they just think otherwise than you, so that's not a reason to just arrest them.
Okay, so to conclude, we think that Xi Jinping's leadership cannot be considered effective or legitimate when it is built on authoritarian control, suppression of dissent, and the systematic erosion of fundamental freedoms. While China has experienced economic growth under his rule, this progress has come at the high cost of press freedom, human rights, and democratic values. Xi has used surveillance, censorship, and fear to maintain power, silencing critics and preventing accountability. His handling of international conflict has been confrontational rather than diplomatic, further isolating China on the world stage. A true leader inspires through trust, transparency, and inclusion. Xi governs through control, fear, and repression. This model of leadership may achieve short-term results, but it is ethically flawed and unsustainable in the long term.